Hello everyone, a very good evening and welcome to BYJU'S Exam Prep. Welcome to Target Prelims 2023. Today, we shall be taking up session 1 of government schemes. We shall be covering a number of important government schemes that were in the news over the last 1 year so that you can thoroughly prepare for the upcoming prelims exam. So before we start, please note the Target Prelims 2023 is essentially a free current affairs crash course to help you prepare for the upcoming prelims examination. We already have covered a number of important subjects and we have few more to go until the 15th of May. So please take a look at the timetable and attend these sessions live every day at 7:30 p.m. In return, just support us by pressing the like button, share these videos with other aspirants and don't forget to subscribe to our channel. So we really hope you make the most out of these free crash course that we are offering. So let's begin today's discussion and I would like to first talk about a very important concept. See, when it comes to government schemes, this particular section is quite important for the prelims exam. If you look at the previous question papers, you will notice that quite a few questions are directly asked based on government schemes. That is, schemes which are in news, especially the new schemes which have been launched in the last 12 to 15 months, and some even older schemes which are in the news, which have been making news of late. So such topics could be picked for a straightforward factual question. But this particular segment is actually quite challenging. Most aspirants find it quite difficult because there are hundreds of government schemes to cover. Now the question is, how do you prioritize? Of course, you can't sit and read all the government schemes that are there. So what I've done, based on the important developments of last 15 months, I have chosen 30 plus important government schemes. Today we shall cover around 15 of them and the rest we shall cover in the second session, that is tomorrow. Is that clear? So before I start, I want you to know about the two types of government schemes. There are two types of government schemes. We have centrally sponsored schemes and central sector schemes. Most of the time, students get confused with regard to this. They have no clarity regarding the differentiation of these two types of government schemes. So first, let me provide you that clarity here. Let's understand this concept and then we will start with the first question. Centrally sponsored schemes are those schemes which are funded usually partially by the center along with the state governments. The center will sponsor a part of the scheme and the state governments are expected to pitch in with the rest of the funding. So such schemes which are funded by both center and states, they are called centrally sponsored schemes. The funding ratio varies. Usually it is 60:40 for most of the states. There are certain schemes where funding ratio is 50:50 as well. There are certain states which get preferential treatment where the funding ratio could be 90:10. For example, northeastern states, some of the remote backward states, border states, which are facing a lot of developmental challenges. So they might be given more funding from the center, where center will contribute 90% of the funds, excuse me, and the states will contribute only the rest 10%. But usually for the larger states and the other states, the funding ratio will be in the ratio of 60:40, 60% from center, 40 from the state. These are schemes and welfare programs which are implemented based on subjects that are present in the state list. Usually, these schemes fulfill the various subjects present on the state list, and these programs are implemented by the state governments. The center will not be directly involved in the implementation. The center might make a broad plan and set the guidelines and provide the funds, but the implementation will rest on the state governments and the district level authorities. So examples for centrally sponsored schemes include Manrega, the National Social Assistance Program. So such programs which are welfare oriented, development oriented, they could be funded both by center and state in a certain ratio and it will be implemented by the state governments. So such schemes are called centrally sponsored schemes. The other category is central sector schemes, where the scheme is entirely funded by the central government. There are few development and welfare programs which are 100% funded by the center these are usually meant to fulfill some of the subjects listed on the Union list under the 7th schedule of the Indian Constitution. These programs are implemented by the Government of India directly. The central government will also execute and implement these schemes and programs. Examples include BharatNet, the MP Lads scheme, for example, Mudra Yojana, etc. So these are the two categories of schemes that are present. It will keep coming up in all the questions we are discussing today. So that is why I wanted to clarify this concept at the very beginning, so that you have complete clarity regarding the two categories of government schemes. So now let's begin with the first question for today. Let's start with the first question. Pradhan Mantri Formalization of Micro Food Processing Enterprises scheme has been launched under which of these initiatives? Is it under Pradhan Mantri Kisan Sampada Yojana, or under the Atmanirbhar Bharat Abhiyan, or Poshan Abhiyan, or none of the above? The poll has been launched for this question. Let's see how many of you can get it right. And in the meanwhile, let me explain the basic facts about this important scheme that was in news. As the name itself indicates, it is a scheme dealing with the food processing sector. Food processing industry is absolutely crucial for agriculture, for food security, and for the rural economy. Because it's in the food processing sector where you can make value addition for food commodities, for agricultural crops that are produced with a great deal of effort by our farmers. If you make value addition, you can increase the income of our farmers. You can reduce the wastage of food items by increasing their shelf life. You can create better logistics in the food and agri sector by promoting food processing industries. Now let's say you take fruits and vegetables. Fruits and vegetables, they have a very short shelf life. They go to waste very quickly if you don't conserve and protect the crop. So after harvest, farmers find it very difficult to ensure that they get the right price. That's mainly because we don't have good logistics. We don't have good warehousing facilities, cold storage facilities. The back end of the supply chain is not very well developed in India. So when you focus on the food processing sector and you promote food processing industries, they will start procuring these agricultural commodities. All kinds of agricultural commodities will be procured by the industries directly from the farmers. They will help in establishing the value chain. They will create the necessary infrastructure, the back-end infrastructure, the logistics that are needed for transportation of crops without pushing them towards wastage. Through cold storage and through better warehousing, you can increase the shelf life of these commodities. You can store them for a longer period. Farmers can fetch a better price. And by making value addition, you can turn these commodities into many different consumable items, right? From juice to jams to juice, then bread, whatnot. You can come up with a lot of edible items, and this actually promotes the whole agrarian and the rural economy. So that is why the food processing sector is extremely crucial. If you look at developed countries, the Western countries, they have very well developed food processing industries. So India is also trying to do the same. And the Ministry of Food Processing has a scheme called the Mega Food Parks Scheme, where large industrial clusters are being encouraged to set up these mega food parks so that the required value addition can happen. So this is all about the formal sector. These are the formal food processing industries, which are large companies or medium-sized companies. They are registered, they are paying the taxes to the government, they have fulfilled all the licensing requirements, they also meet the safety hygiene standards. So these are the large food processing industries. But however, there are many other small food processing units, very small micro units, which largely operate in the informal sector. They wouldn't even be properly registered. They wouldn't have the licenses. They won't be meeting the quality safety standards. But they would be playing a key role in the back end of the supply chain and in the agrarian economy. Now, the government has launched a dedicated scheme for this informal sector. The whole focus here is to formalize the micro food processing industries in our country. At the local level, there will be these small food processing industries which are not in the formal sector. They will not be eligible for subsidized loans. They will not be eligible for government benefits. They would not be following the quality standards and the norms, right? Because they are operating in this informal sector, and that is why the government is focusing on formalizing these small and micro food industries. So for this purpose, a dedicated scheme has been launched, and it is a centrally sponsored scheme. The burden is shared, the funding ratio is divided between the center and the states, and it was launched in the year 2020 by the Ministry of Food Processing. Please remember which are the nodal ministries implementing these schemes. That could also be an important fact for your prelims questions. So this scheme has been launched under the Atmanirbhar Bharat Abhiyan. The Modi government has launched this ambitious initiative called Atmanirbhar Bharat to make India self-reliant in key sectors. So we don't have to depend on imports. We don't have to depend on other countries. So to strengthen our economy, to boost domestic production, Atmanirbharata or self-reliance is being promoted by the government. It's under Atmanirbhar Bharat Abhiyan that this initiative has been launched. It is part of Vocal for Local initiative, especially when it comes to consumable food items. It is always encouraged to consume local food which is being produced in the nearby localities and areas. Let's say you take a city, for example, a city like Delhi or Mumbai. You have millions of people residing in the city. There are lakhs of restaurants, street vendors, etc., who all consume various food commodities. Now, if they are sourcing the commodities from far away regions, from, let's say, from Northeast India or from outside of India, such procurement from far away sources is not conducive ideally for the environment and as well as for the economy. When it comes to food, it is always encouraged that procurement should be as local as possible. As much as possible, the essential commodities should be procured from the nearby regions, from the nearby districts, so that it benefits the immediate region, the farmers will benefit, the overall cost involved in the operations and logistics will also be minimal. The environmental cost will be minimal, and it will boost the local economy. So there is a general support for consuming local food items. Let's say within 100 kilometers, whatever is produced, if that is being brought into the supply chain, if you're making value addition to it, then distributing that across that region, and if you're promoting such local consumption, it is generally seen as a more sustainable model, both from an environment point of view and as well as from an economy point of view. Because it reduces your logistics cost, the need for storage, transportation, cold storage, etc. The cost will go down. So India is actively promoting this initiative, the Vocal for Local initiative. It's being promoted under Atmanirbhar Bharat Abhiyan. So it's part of this initiative that the Pradhan Mantri formalization of micro food processing enterprises scheme has been launched. Is that clear? The main objective of the scheme is to formalize the micro food processing industries in the country. The small local level food industries which are not operating in the formal sector. The focus is on bringing them into the formal domain so that they will be eligible for all the benefits. It will be easier for them to procure loans from banks and cooperative societies and credit providing institutions. They'll be eligible for various subsidies and privileges and incentives being offered by the government. Plus, the government hopes to create a common pool of infrastructure through which these small food processing industries can also be supported. Is that clear? So that is the main objective of this scheme. The time period of its implementation is for a period of 5 years from 2020-21 to 2024-25. And a budget of 10,000 crore rupees has been set aside for this ambitious program. The other key points you need to note down is that it will enhance the competitiveness of the food processing sector. If you bring in more small food processing players into the industry and formalize the sector, it will increase the competition. As the quality standards go up, consumer expectation improves, the other companies will also be forced to ensure they meet the high quality and safety standards. It will bring more competition into the industry, thereby bringing quality products into the market. This will have a health impact as well, a positive health impact. It will have an impact on the prices as well when there is more competition, right? It definitely helps in stabilizing the prices. It will keep the prices competitive, and it will also promote innovation. These industries will be forced to innovate to compete with their competitors. They will have to innovate and come out with better products, high quality products, and products which are healthier. So that is also a core objective of this program. Under this program, the model being followed, the model for implementation, is the one district, one product model. This is the implementation model. Please make a note of this point as well. In each district, there will be some or the other commodity, which is the top commodity of that district. So, a one district, one product model is being encouraged by the government so that the farmers, the local farmers, can reap the benefits, and the government will encourage these industries in every possible manner, be it in branding and marketing, or in increasing their market reach, in creating the common infrastructure that is needed to scale up these small industries. All those essential facilities will be provided through the government. Is that clear? So this will overall reduce the wastage in the food sector, thus boosting food security as well. Several perishable commodities which have a short shelf life, they can be processed, they can be preserved for a longer period, right? So, for example, when you make jams or let's say pickles, etc., you are essentially increasing the shelf life of the commodity, right? And you are ensuring that it doesn't go to waste. You're carrying out value addition and contributing to food security. So the wastage in the food industry can be brought down, and even minor forest produce, which is the lifeline of tribal communities, can be mainstreamed into the economy. This could benefit the tribal communities as well. That's another important point you need to note down. Because tribal communities, the forest dwellers, they collect a lot of minor forest produce like berries, fruits, honey, etc. These commodities, they have a lot of value in the market, but tribal communities are not able to reach the market. Now, what if micro industries are encouraged at the local level? They are formalized through this scheme, and they will start procuring the minor forest produce from the tribal communities. This will increase their income as well. It will secure their livelihood, plus it will mainstream the forest produce into the formal economy. This scheme will focus on the aspirational districts of the country as well. The Modi government has launched the aspirational districts program to focus on some of the most backward districts in the country. So those backward districts which are recognized as aspirational districts, they get preference and priority under this food processing scheme. Is that clear? So these are the various important points you need to remember about this important scheme. It was in the news multiple times in the last 12 to 15 months. There's every possibility of a question being picked from here. So now if you come back to the question, the answer is very evident. The correct answer is option B. It's been launched under Atmanirbhar Bharat Abhiyan. Let's see how many of you got it right. Let's end the poll and let's see how many of you got it right. There is a tie between option A and B. So 38% have said A, 38% have said B. See, this clearly shows that you still need to scale up your current affairs preparation and revision. You might have read about these topics, but you may not be able to recollect, or you may not know the finer details and the finer points. That is where such crash course sessions will help you, right? When you're revising as well, this is the approach you should follow. Spend some time on these topics to cover them in depth. When you're revising as well, ensure you cover all the key points. So when you do that, you will have the clarity that is needed to get the right answer. Trust me, in the examination, all the 100 questions will look familiar. You will know the topics at least. But you will get confused in your options. I'm sure all of you would have faced this problem. The the only way to overcome that confusion is to have clarity, conceptual clarity and factual clarity as well. So when you have revised multiple times, you will be able to remember these essential facts and concepts, and you will be able to get the right answer. Is that clear? So option B is the right answer here. Next, let's move on. Before I take up the second question, there are a couple of points I would like to bring to your notice regarding the micro food processing scheme. It basically highlights the features of the scheme. This is usually not asked by UPSC. It doesn't focus on this level of facts, but sometimes you never know. There have been questions that specifically focus on the features of the scheme as well. So please make a note of this. Under this scheme, the micro industries, they will get a subsidy of up to 35% for the loans that they are taking. Credit link capital subsidy will be given for the capital investment being made to set up those industries. Self-help groups, they will get support of up to 40,000 rupees under the scheme. Up to 40,000 rupees of seed capital will be given to self-help groups so that local self-help groups can start their own industries, especially women-centric self-help groups. They'll be given a seed capital of 40,000 rupees. As I told you earlier, government will enable the creation of common infrastructure. Cloud facilities will be set up. See, today you have cloud kitchens operated by several big brands. They're all centered in cities, in urban areas. If government can set up such cloud facilities for storage, for warehousing, for processing food items, that too in the rural areas, it will benefit the small industries. Instead of each small industry investing separately, if there is a pooled resource, it will bring down the cost that is needed for investments. The government will also provide capacity building under this initiative. It will provide for training. It will provide better training to the small industries, the micro industries, and there will be a district level resource person to guide and advise these small food processing industries. These are the various benefits being offered under this scheme, the features, the other features of the scheme. So please make a note, they will be very important for a prelims question. Now let's move on to the second question. In the context of recent amendments to the National Policy on Biofuels, consider the following. There are 3 statements given related to National Policy on Biofuels. It's a very, very important policy. So let's examine the statements. To allow more feedstock for production of biofuels, to advance the ethanol blending target of 50% blending of ethanol in petrol to 2030 from 2050, to promote the production of biofuels in the country under the Make in India program by units located in SEZs or Special Economic Zones and export-oriented units. So 3 statements have been given regarding the recent amendments that were carried out to the National Policy on Biofuels by the Union Cabinet. That is why the topic is in news. Last year, the Union Cabinet approved these amendments to the National Policy on Biofuels. So you need to check whether these are the correct amendments given. You need to check whether these 3 statements given here, are they the correct amendments which were carried out last year? That is what we need to check. So let's understand this topic in detail. There are several important points to cover, and according to me, it's a very, very important topic for the coming exam. See, biofuels, as you know, they are produced through organic matter, usually bio waste and other organic matter. These fuels, especially ethanol, which is ethyl alcohol, it's often blended with your conventional fuel like petrol and diesel. This brings a lot of benefits and advantages. When ethanol blending is promoted in petrol and diesel, it will reduce the emissions, especially carbon emissions can be brought down. Thereby, it can help in reducing pollution. It can also help in tackling climate change. Then more importantly, by blending ethanol with petrol and diesel, you can bring down your crude oil requirement and reduce your oil imports. So this has tremendous economic benefits as well. You can bring down your oil import bill and save precious foreign exchange for the country. Plus you can create several jobs in the biofuel industry. You can promote a large biofuel industry, thus create jobs and boost the economy as well. So there are numerous benefits arising out of such schemes that are focused on promoting biofuels. Around the world, governments have such programs, and India also has launched a national policy on biofuels, which was notified in 2018 by the Ministry of Petroleum and Natural Gas. Please note down this important fact. This 2008 policy, it replaced the earlier policy of 2009, which had been brought out by the Ministry of New and Renewable Energy. Got it? In 2009 itself, a national policy on biofuels was brought out by the Ministry of New and Renewable Energy. But this policy has been updated and replaced with by the National Policy on Biofuels of 2018, which has been brought out by the Petroleum and Natural Gas Ministry. Is that clear? So under this policy, the three different categories of biofuels have been identified. There are three types of biofuels. You have basic biofuels, the first generation biofuels. Then we have advanced biofuels, or the second generation biofuels, and the third generation biofuels. I will explain what these three generations of biofuels are. Even that concept is very important. But before that, please understand, to produce biofuels through organic matter, you need a feedstock, you need a raw material. Feedstock is nothing but the organic matter which you are using to produce the biofuel, the raw material, the core or the essential organic matter which is being used to produce the biofuel is called the feedstock. That is a technical word. Now, the challenge here is that if you rely on food items and agricultural commodities to produce biofuel, this could actually have an adverse consequence. Now, if you know anything about biofuels, you will know that one of the primary feedstock is from the sugar industry. In the sugarcane industry, molasses, which is produced, right, the waste product, is what feeds the ethyl alcohol industry. Through molasses, ethyl alcohol, ethanol is produced, which is the biofuel. There are similar food items and commodities. There are other food products which can be used for biofuel production, be it beetroot, for example, right? Few other vegetables and fruits. There are few such items, even potato, for example, even cereals, for example, right? They can be used for producing biofuel. Now, the problem is if you encourage biofuels, that too which are produced using food items and agri commodities, it might result in the diversion of food supplies, because farmers will find bigger profits here and even the middlemen will find bigger profits here. They might divert most of the food items, the food crops, towards the biofuel industry, which could threaten food security in the country. Food security could be threatened because there will be a shortage for consumable food items, as food items might be pushed into biofuel industry because of higher profits. Now, this is a challenge for any government. Striking a balance between the two objectives is a challenge. On one hand, food security should not be compromised. Consumable items should be meant for consumption. Only what is going to waste, only those items which are about to be spoiled, right? Such specific category of food items should be channeled towards the biofuel industry. So that is why you need a well thought out policy to strike that balance. Balance your food security objectives with your objective for promoting biofuel blending. One should not compromise the other. Especially blending biofuel should not compromise food security. That is the balance which has to be struck. So now, let me tell you the different categories of biofuels that are available. In the basic category, that is the first generation of biofuels, these are biofuels which are produced by using food stocks such as sugar, that is from the sugar industry, the molasses, starch, vegetable oil, animal fats, etc. All such commodities, the waste food items which are used for fuel production, right? Such fuels which are produced, they are called first generation biofuel. It is only first generation biofuel which can pose a threat to the food economy. Please note down the point. It's only first generation biofuels which can cause an imbalance in the food economy, because other generation biofuels are not dependent on food supplies. Is that clear? Food commodities are used here primarily, be it fruits and vegetables, starch and sugar based commodities, vegetable oil, animal fats as well. Even oil which has been used in the industry, in food processing factories, in restaurants, oil which has been used repeatedly, it is pushed towards biofuel production. Got it? So any such biofuel produced via food sources is first generation biofuel, and it can create an imbalance in the food economy. It can lead to increase in food prices and inflation. It can cause more hunger as well if you don't balance out your policy. Next, you have the second generation biofuels. These are produced from inedible parts of the plant, from those parts of the plant which we don't consume, like the stem, the husk, etc. When such plant commodities are used for biofuel production, such a biofuel is second generation biofuel. But here the process is more complex, and at the same time it emits fewer greenhouse gases in comparison to first generation biofuels. First generation biofuels, they still contribute to emissions. But second generation biofuels are much cleaner, much better. They have lesser carbon content. That is the reason why it's more environment friendly. All right. Next, third generation biofuels. They are produced using microorganisms such as algae. By breeding algae on food and land sources, through microorganism based decomposition of organic matter, you can produce biofuels. This is the third generation of biofuels, which is much cleaner and it is more sustainable. Next, you have fourth generation biofuels, which is the emerging domain in biofuel sector. Here we can genetically engineer, genetically modify plants to absorb more carbon. They basically store more carbon through photosynthesis, and when you put them through the process for generating biofuel, they will produce a more efficient form of fuel. And this fuel which is produced, it can be pre-combusted to take out the carbon content. The carbon can be captured as well, and it can be sequestered. You can sink that carbon into the earth. Geosequestration can be done so that the fuel produced here is as clean as possible. It's one of the most advanced technologies in biofuels. So all these generation of biofuels are being promoted by the national policy on biofuels. So that is why you should know the categorization as well. Now, what are the benefits of this policy? This could be another line of question. But the biggest benefit is that it will reduce our dependency on oil imports, as we are going to blend the biofuel with petrol and diesel, right? For example, today we have ethanol 20 available in the market. We started with ethanol 5, that is 5% ethanol blending was carried out many years ago. We gradually increased this to 10%, 15% blend. And now we are blending 20% ethanol with petrol. Even with diesel, we have started blending ethanol. Right now we are blending 5% ethanol with diesel. Even this will be scaled up to 20%. Right? We can even take it up to 50%, sometimes beyond that. So if you replace or if you blend petrol and diesel with biofuels, you can reduce your crude oil import. It saves your foreign exchange, reduces your import bill, brings down your deficit, current account deficit. It provides for a cleaner environment because biofuel is cleaner relatively compared to petrol and diesel. It reduces the emissions, the pollutants, helps in tackling air pollution and as well as global warming and climate change. If you're channeling used cooking oil towards biofuel production, then this could provide for health benefits. See, most of the restaurants, the street vendors and food processing industries, they often reuse the oil again and again. Reheating the oil repeatedly is not good. It creates several toxic compounds which can lead to cardiovascular diseases. That is why, to discourage the industry, the restaurants and the food manufacturers from reusing the oil, there is a policy in place. to channel the used oil towards biofuel production. If they have an incentive to sell that used oil, they will push it towards biodiesel production. It will become a feedstock. So this will translate to health benefits in the long run. It will also help in channeling city waste, urban waste, municipal solid waste. Our cities are generating massive quantities of waste which can be channeled towards the biofuel industry. Plus, as I told you, it can create a whole new industry, creating lakhs of jobs and thus boost the economy as well, and also provide an additional source of income for the farmers. If farmers can sell their produce and the waste, agricultural waste, to the biofuel industry, they can make additional income. You take stubble, for example, the stubble that is left behind after harvest. This is a huge problem in northern and northwest India. Stubble burning leads to massive pollution during winter season and very serious smog conditions. So one way of incentivizing the farmers to not set fire to the stubble is to encourage them to sell the stubble to the biofuel industry. Using the stubble left behind after harvest, you can produce biofuel as well. So these are the numerous benefits of the policy, and please take a look at the recent amendments that were approved by the cabinet. It's a very, very important topic. In total, 6 amendments were approved. So please take a note. More feedstocks for production of biofuels have been added to the list. Along with the existing feedstock, newer feedstocks have been allowed. Next, the ethanol blending target. Blending of ethanol 20%. The target was set for 2030. That was the target year by which across country we should have ethanol 20 petrol available. This target has been advanced. It's been preponed to 2025-26. By 5 years, the target has been preponed to achieve ethanol 20 petrol blending across the country. It will promote production of biofuels in the country under Make in India program, especially in SEZs and export-oriented units. It has added new members to the National Biofuel Committee that acts as an advisory body with regard to granting permission for export of biofuels. The policy has been simplified and liberalized. Because of this new amendment, biofuel exports can be allowed from the country now, and to delete and amend certain phrases in the policy according to decisions taken during meetings of the Biofuel Coordination Committee. So that there is more flexibility in the policy, the advisory body, the National Biofuel Coordination Committee, can make suitable changes whenever necessary. These are the key amendments, especially the first 4. The first 4 amendments are very, very important for the exam. So based on this, you can easily answer the question. Come back to the question right now. Now we can say that the first point is correct. The amendment has allowed more feedstock for production of biofuels. Third statement is also correct. It promotes the production of biofuels in the country under Make in India program, especially in units located in SEZs and export-oriented units. But however, second statement is wrong. Because as we just studied, ethanol blending that we are aiming is for 20%, not 50%. Alright? And the target has been advanced from 2030 to 2025. It was not from 2050 to 2030. This is also wrong. So the blending target and the deadline, both are incorrect. That is why statement 2 is wrong. So 1 and 3 only. Option C becomes the correct answer. Alright, let's see how many of you got it right. Before we go to the next question, 53% have said option C. Good. Most of you have got the right answer. Very good. Now let's look at the next question. Consider the following statements. Prime Minister's Employment Generation Program was launched in the year 2008. It is a central sector scheme being administered by the Ministry of MSME. Alright? The scheme is implemented by the Khadi and Village Industries Commission, functioning as the nodal agency at the national level. Very factual. Of course, government scheme questions are factual. That's why many students find it very challenging. So let's understand the scheme first. Let's talk about the scheme. Then identify the incorrect statements. The question is asking us to identify the wrong statements. The Prime Minister's Employment Generation Scheme, it was indeed launched in the year 2008. So first statement is absolutely correct. It was launched by merging the previous schemes, the old schemes, that is the Prime Minister's Rozgar Yojana and the Rural Employment Generation Program. These two old employment related schemes were merged into the Prime Minister's Employment Generation Program. It is a central sector scheme, meaning 100% funded by the center, implemented by the center. State governments are not involved. They don't contribute to this program. The center administers the program through the MSME ministry. The program is under the Ministry of Micro, Small and Medium Enterprises. It essentially provides for a credit-linked subsidy program. Now, those who are looking for employment opportunities, those who want to start out their own enterprises, they would require financial support. They will need that initial capital to start their own business. So they obviously will take loans from banks and other credit institutions. These loans which are taken, the credit, they will be subsidized by the government. The interest and the principal repayment, that will be partly subsidized by the government as an incentive, as a support for employment generation activities in the country. That is the prime objective here. It aims to generate livelihood opportunities both in rural and urban areas. That's another key point. It's focused not just on rural areas but also on the urban areas, and the priority is to help the small entrepreneurs, help the self-employment micro enterprises, small local industries which are being started by the local people, especially by women or by the local youth or by those who are from marginalized classes. Such programs, such enterprises, they will be backed by the government through a credit-linked subsidy. Is that clear? So this is being implemented at the national level by the KVIC, the Khadi and Village Industries Commission. This is the national nodal agency to implement this program. It identifies the small local level micro industries which are being set up, and they will be subsidized. Their loans, the credit will be subsidized through this initiative. All right. Now please understand, previously factories and industries which were being set up with a capital of 25 lakhs in the manufacturing sector and around 10 lakhs in the service sector, they were being supported previously. Recently this limit has been increased. Now manufacturing plants which have an investment of 50 lakhs, up to 50 lakhs, they will be supported, which means slightly larger industries in the micro small category will be supported by the government. In the service sector, the limit has been increased to 20 lakhs. So any private business being started with a capital of 20 lakhs, such micro enterprises, they will be supported in the service sector. What kind of support is given here? The loan is arranged through the banking institutions and the financial institutions. The credit part will be subsidized by the government up to 35%. All right. Priority is given to weaker sections and certain focus groups. For example, industries that are started by ex-servicemen, by former soldiers. Industries which are started by those belonging to SC, ST, OBC category. Those from minorities, religious, linguistic minorities. Industries being started by women. The ones which are being started by those who are physically handicapped. Then industries coming up in northeast region of India, in the hilly areas, border areas of India. Such small industries will be supported under this employment generation scheme. The KVIC will give technical support as well, training as well, arrange for the financial support through a subsidy-based program for the loans which have been arranged. So that is the support extended here to support livelihood creation at the grassroots. So that is why it's an important program. It was recently in news because the limit for manufacturing and service sector was increased. The previous limit was 25 lakhs and 10 lakhs respectively. Now this has been enhanced to 50 lakhs for the manufacturing sector and 20 lakhs for the service sector. So up to that range of investment, the capital subsidy will be given for the loans that are taken for these industries. So now, if you come back to the question and look at the statements given, statement 1 was correct. We already discussed that. Second statement is also correct because it is a central sector scheme funded by the central government and it is administered by the MSME ministry. Third statement is also correct because it is implemented by the KVIC, the Khadi and Village Industries Commission, which acts as the nodal agency at the national level. So all three statements are correct. So what's the answer? Option D, none of the above. The question was asking for incorrect statements. There are no incorrect statements. So option D becomes the right answer. Let's see how many of you got the right answer. 29%. Again, there is a tie between B and D. It's a tie between the two options. 29% have got the right answer. Option D is the correct answer. Now moving on to the fourth question. Which of the following statements is or are correct with respect to Pradhan Mantri Ujjwala Yojana? The Pradhan Mantri Ujjwala Yojana is another ambitious scheme of the Modi government. It's been always in the news. It serves a very important purpose in the Indian society, and that is why the program is very, very important, very relevant. Recently, there have been some changes made to the scheme as well that makes it all the more important. The question says the main objective of the Ujjwala Yojana is to reduce energy imports and make India self-reliant in cooking fuel. It aims to reduce the health hazards associated with firewood cooking. It makes LPG connections available only to women from BPL households. We need to check which of the given statements are correct. Now let me explain the Ujjwala Yojana in detail, then it's very easy to find the answer. Because see, all these questions are very factual. I know it's very, very fact-based. But there are a lot of important facts to remember about each scheme. That's why I told you don't sit and study all the government schemes. We have chosen around 30 plus government schemes which are more important. So let's focus on that, and each topic then you can cover in depth so that you can answer any such questions that come in the exam. The Ujjwala scheme is one of the flagship programs of the Modi government that was launched in the year 2016. Prime Minister Modi himself has personally backed this initiative, and it was launched by the Petroleum and Natural Gas Ministry. Please note down the point. It was launched by the Petroleum and Natural Gas Ministry. The primary objective of this Yojana, the Ujjwala Yojana, is to ensure that our women who are cooking with firewood, which is hazardous and dangerous, they shift to a cleaner cooking fuel such as LPG. Especially in rural households, in poor households, who cannot afford gas stoves and electrical stoves, they often rely on firewood. The problem with firewood cooking is that even though it tastes great, it's good for cooking, the problem especially is for women. First of all, women have to hike very long distances to fetch the firewood, which in itself is a threat for their safety. There have been many cases where rural women have gone out to fetch firewood from the hinterland and the forest areas, and they would have been subjected to rapes and molestations. So women's safety is a question here. Second problem is indoor air pollution. When you cook with firewood in traditional chimneys, which are built inside the kitchen itself without proper ventilation and exhaust, the smoke which is generated gets trapped in the kitchen, and women who are cooking, right, they are inhaling more of these toxic gases along with the harmful particulate matter. Thanks to the patriarchal nature of Indian society, women are assigned the job in the kitchen, largely in rural areas, even in several urban households as well. This makes women more vulnerable as they are owning the task of cooking. In a patriarchal society, they are exposed to firewood smoke on a day-to-day basis. To keep the fire alive, they have to blow into the fire as well. It generates a lot of smoke, and inhaling the smoke in close quarters is extremely dangerous. It is as bad as smoking cigarettes. Is that clear? Indoor air pollution is a major health hazard in countries like India, specifically for women who work in the kitchen. So that is why the Modi government launched this ambitious program, which serves not just an economic purpose but also a major social purpose. The whole objective here is to ensure that we move away from firewood cooking and adopt cleaner cooking fuel such as LPG, liquefied petroleum gas. Is that clear? It's relatively cleaner, doesn't contribute to indoor air pollution because the combustion is more clean and complete. Got it? So under this scheme, free LPG connections were provided for women in the household to those who belong to BPL families. The connection will be given only in the name of women. Got it? Only women will be eligible for the benefits. The connection, the free deposit free LPG connection is given in the name of the women of the household to those families which are below the poverty line. The other condition is they should not have a prior gas connection. Alright? So such households which have never been covered by the LPG network, they will be brought under the LPG network. So they will be provided free LPG connections with few refills as well, subsidized refills. So this program has been expanded by the government and it's been implemented on priority, and around 8 crore connections have been made possible, thus ensuring the success of this key initiative. The coverage of the Ujjwala Yojana has been phenomenal. It not only reduces the health risk for women, but it also ensures women's safety because they don't have to venture out to fetch firewood. Is that clear? So we will switch towards LPG for cooking. That is the whole purpose here. So this scheme was recently upgraded to its second version. Ujjwala 2.0 was launched in 2021 and the government is expanding its coverage. We want to ensure 100% coverage of the households, even the migrant households. Migrant workers, they keep moving from place to place. LPG connections are given usually based on your location, where you're residing. So migrant families, if they move from a city to another city or state to another state, they will lose the LPG connection, right? So that is why Ujjwala Yojana was upgraded to Ujjwala 2.0. As the pandemic created more challenges for migrant families, to help them out, this upgraded scheme was launched and regularly the government is keeping track of its implementation. So that is why Ujjwala Yojana is constantly in news. It has been appreciated at the global level. Even the UN has taken note of the Ujjwala Yojana as it helps in women empowerment. It helps in pushing women away from firewood cooking and adopt cleaner cooking fuel such as LPG, right? So now let's look at the given statements. The first statement, what do you think? Is it correct or wrong? Can you tell me in the comments? The first statement given here, is it correct or incorrect? Yes or no? Few students are saying, no, it's wrong. Very good. The first statement is incorrect. Its objective is not to reduce energy imports. In fact, if you're adopting LPG, if you're switching to LPG gas, right, it will increase your energy imports. Most of the cooking gas is imported. We procure it largely from West Asian countries. So import bill will increase, but it is fine. The price is worth paying in order to reduce the health hazard associated with firewood cooking. So first statement is wrong. It will not reduce energy imports and make us self-reliant in cooking fuel. But statement 2 is absolutely correct. It reduces the health hazard associated with firewood cooking. And third statement is also correct because the connections are given to women. It's registered in the name of women, those who belong to BPL families. So 2 and 3 are correct. Option D becomes the correct answer. So let's see how many of you got it right. Let's end the poll and let's see how many of you got the right answer. 45%. Good. 45% have got the right answer, but what worries me is that 43% have said option B. Again, say this is where you need clarity. Don't worry. Don't assume that you're not prepared enough. Don't panic. It's just about clarity. It's just about that fine conceptual and factual clarity. That's where these sessions will help you. Okay, so now let's move to the fifth question. What is the primary objective of Vibrant Villages program? Another important topic that was recently in news. To subsidize agricultural loans in order to reduce farmers' debt burden, to electrify all villages in the Naxal corridor, to provide comprehensive development for villages on the Chinese border, to promote the cultural heritage of artisan villages. Now, I would like you guys to answer the question first. The poll has already been made live, so let's end the poll. Let's see how many of you have got the right answer. Because this should be a fairly simple question. It was in news very recently, just a few weeks back. Very good, just as I expected, 87% have said option C. Very good, that is the correct answer. Vibrant Villages program provides for comprehensive development of the border villages located along the India-China border. So let's talk about this important scheme. The Vibrant Villages program was recently announced by the Ministry of Home Affairs. The MHA, which is responsible for border management and border security, has brought out this important development program. See, in border areas, it's very important to ensure that the border villages, the people residing in the border villages, they are in favor of India. It's important to protect their patriotism towards the country. It's important to make them feel a part of the country. If the government neglects the border villages, if we don't develop the border villages, obviously it will breed sense of resentment. If you don't provide roads, water, healthcare, education, electricity and jobs, people in the border areas will easily get frustrated because border areas are very remote, faraway locations. So if the government is not looking after them, not developing the regions, focusing on these areas, chances are high that the resentment could be exploited by hostile elements. Hostile neighboring countries could exploit them. They could turn them into their spies and agents to report for them, to pass on sensitive border information, military information to the enemy. Then smugglers, criminals who might be working in the border areas, terrorists and insurgents who might be working in the border areas, they will start working with them and they'll start creating local support for themselves. That is why it is extremely important to ensure that border villages are focused upon as far as development is concerned. In fact, MHA has another parallel program called Border Area Development Program, the BADP. This is already being implemented along the borders with Pakistan, Nepal, Bhutan and Bangladesh, Myanmar, and as well as along the borders with China. Along all the international borders of India, the land borders of India, the BADP is already being implemented by the MHA. The Border Management Division of MHA is implementing one program called Border Area Development Program. This program was actually launched in 1980s. Initially, it was meant only for the Pakistani border. After the program saw a lot of success, we expanded BADP to all the other borders as well. But now, since there is an increased threat from China, the border states are under increased pressure and the government of India is looking to pay special attention to these border villages that face the Chinese border. So the Union Territory of Ladakh and the states of Himachal Pradesh, Uttarakhand, Sikkim and Arunachal Pradesh. These are the border states and union territories of India sharing borders with China. So we have a long disputed border here where China is very aggressively poking at India, carrying out incursions, occupying territory as well. So given the threat level here, it's very important to cultivate the border villages and ensure that the people who inhabit these villages are in favor of India. It's important to protect their patriotism. That will happen only when the government cares for them, provides development for these regions. So that is why this ambitious initiative has been launched by the government of India. It was announced in the last year's budget and it's been implemented from this year onwards. It will focus upon these border villages. Around 2,967 villages have been identified in 4 states and 1 union territory. Please remember where it's being implemented. It's very, very important. Ladakh, then the other 4 states bordering China, Himachal Pradesh, Uttarakhand, Sikkim and Arunachal Pradesh. So in these 4 states and 1 union territory, around 2,967 border villages have been identified in 19 districts where the government will provide for comprehensive development. Through this program, the government will provide for livelihood opportunities for the local people by supporting the local economy. It will also create essential infrastructure, basic connectivity through roads, the bridges that are needed to connect them, providing electricity, education, healthcare. All such essential facilities, including mobile and internet connection, will be extended to all these border villages in a step-by-step manner. More than 4,000 crore rupees has been allocated to this special program, and this will run parallel to the BADP. Please note down this point. It's not replacing the BADP. BADP will still continue to run. BADP is implemented across all other borders as well. But for the Chinese border, a special program has been planned. So both will run parallelly. Vibrant Villages program and BADP, both will be implemented parallelly to provide for development of the border villages. Is that clear? So these are the key points that you need to be aware of. So as we discussed, the answer is option C. Now let's take up the 6th question. The 6th question is actually quite simple, if you ask me. But of course you should know about this project, or else you won't be able to answer the question. And also there are some important points about this particular project, which makes it very important for the exam. It deals with Grameen Udyami project. The Grameen Udyami project is funded by whom? Is it funded by Niti Aayog, Ministry of Rural Development, National Skill Development Corporation, or the Ministry of Labour and Employment? The poll is live. Please attempt as soon as possible. We'll end the poll quickly so that I can get to know how many of you know the answer or not. Okay, let's end the poll. Let's see how many of you have got the right answer. 46% have said option C. That's the majority vote. Very good. But few are confused. There's around 35% vote for other options. But you're absolutely correct. NSDC, the National Skill Development Corporation, which is under the Ministry of Skill Development. It functions under the Ministry of Skill Development. So NSDC is funding Grameen Udyami project. Since it's related to livelihood and employment, some students might get confused with the Labour and Employment Ministry. Since it focuses on rural areas, it has the word Grameen in it, some might assume it's the Rural Development Ministry. This is where you need that factual clarity. You have to remember these facts. Of course, you can't sit and by heart mug up everything. It comes with revision. The more you revise, the more you go through the topics again and again, you'll start recollecting these basic facts. Alright, so option C is the correct answer, but let's talk about the project itself. What other points are important for the exam? See, NSDC has tied up with other institutions like Seva Bharati and Yuva Vikas Society. It's got into a partnership with these societies and institutions, and it has launched the 2nd phase of Grameen Udyami project. That is why the topic was in news. It's the 2nd phase of this project which has been launched. Now, this initiative is mainly focused on skill development, training and capacity building of India's youth, particularly in the tribal belt. This is why the program is very, very important from a socio-economic point of view, from a development point of view, right? Even from a security point of view, this scheme is very important. It is implemented mainly in the tribal belt, which is a hot spot for Naxal activity, right? In states like Madhya Pradesh, Jharkhand, Chhattisgarh, Madhya Pradesh, Maharashtra, and as well as Rajasthan and Gujarat. Most of the states here, except for Gujarat and Rajasthan, the rest of them, they're all hit by Naxal violence, left-wing extremism. One reason why left-wing extremist violence and ideology sustains here is because there is lack of development, lack of livelihood opportunities. Tribal communities are exploited, brainwashed by the Maoists, right? So creating these opportunities is going to be very, very essential in our fight against Naxalism as well. Plus to provide all-round development in the tribal belts. So that is the main focus here of the Grameen Udyami project. The second phase is essentially focusing on multi-skill development. Basically, the tribal youth who will be identified in these states, they will be imparted with not just one skill, but with multiple skills through which they can get a job or through which they can start their own enterprises. They will be taught how to become an electrician or a plumber or a mason, or how to gain basic IT knowledge to become computer operators, right? How to develop basic farm skills and other industrial skills so they can get employment in various industries and factories. So such essential skills, vocational skills, will be imbibed into our tribal youth in these focus states. Is that clear? Please remember the states where it is being implemented. It was started in Madhya Pradesh, Jharkhand, expanded to the other states as well, Maharashtra, Rajasthan, Chhattisgarh, Gujarat. So in all these states, the tribal belt is the focus, and it provides for multi-skill development, provides for capacity building so that our youth can be trained adequately and they can easily get jobs and create livelihood opportunities for themselves. Alright, so that is about Grameen Udyami project, which is funded by National Skill Development Corporation. Now let's move on to the next question. Question number 7. Consider the following statements, and this question deals with the Poshan Abhiyan, another important government program. Poshan Abhiyan, as the name itself indicates, deals with nutrition. It was launched in 2018. It ensures people's participation to improve the nutritional outcomes in a holistic manner. It prioritizes behavioral change at individual and community level, an important component to achieve the desired goals of malnutrition-free India or Kuposhan Mukt Bharat. So we should check whether these statements are correct or wrong. So obviously, to answer such a question, which is very factual, you need the basic facts in hand. So let's talk about the Poshan Abhiyan. What's the purpose of the program? Who's implementing this? And what is the method of implementation? What's the strategy being followed? All these points are very important for any government scheme. So let's take a look at them. Poshan Abhiyan is also referred to as the National Nutrition Mission, and it was launched in 2018. Alright, it was launched in 2018 mainly to tackle malnutrition. Malnutrition is widely prevalent in the country, not just because of food insecurity, but also due to the wrong diet that people might be following. Poverty is one of the prime factors here, right? Poverty directly contributes to hunger, leading to malnutrition. But there are other factors as well. Even families which can afford essential food, right? They still report malnutrition, especially with micronutrients and essential nutrients. And this has a huge impact on the health of families. It has a disproportionate impact on women, especially old women, pregnant and lactating women, and also on children. Children are at the receiving end. Such malnutrition, such deficiency in nutrients leads to several health conditions which affects their ability to contribute to the society and the economy. So this has huge consequences. In India, malnutrition is so rampant that a lot of children in the country under the age of 5 years, they suffer from conditions like stunting, undernutrition, anemia, low birth weight. These have become very common occurrences in several pockets of India. So to tackle these conditions, these deficiencies, you need to provide for nutritional security. It's not just sufficient to provide basic food and guarantee food security. You need to provide the right nutrients. The food being provided should be nutrient rich. The diet being consumed should provide you with the basic essential nutrients, including micronutrients. That is when the country can become free from malnutrition and from all these deficiencies. So that is why the Poshan Abhiyan was launched. and the primary objective is to reduce the level of undernutrition in the country, improve the nutritional status of our children, and focus on other categories as well, other vulnerable groups like adolescents, pregnant women and lactating mothers. They are the primary focus of this program. Is that clear? Children under the age of 5 years, including infants, adolescents, pregnant women and lactating mothers. They are the focus of Poshan Abhiyan, and it focuses on people participation. It encourages people participation. It adopts the participatory approach. It provides for a decentralized framework where at the local level the people are encouraged to participate. It promotes awareness amongst the people regarding the importance of nutrition. All right? So it promotes people to understand the relevance of nutrition in their diet, and it hopes to bring about behavioral change. Because as I told you, even families which have access to food, even middle and even some rich families, they may be consuming nutrient deficient food. They might be eating enough from a calorie point of view, but are they consuming the right nutrients and enough nutrients, micronutrients especially, right? So that is the focus of the program here. So this requires a behavioral change in the society, right? We should be conscious about what we eat. We should be more mindful of the food that we are consuming, right? The focus should be on the nutrient value of the food. So this is something we should encourage at the community level, and to spread that awareness, to bring about that change in the society, you need people participation. The government alone cannot do this. So that is why the program has been designed in such a way that it provides for people's participation. Awareness campaigns are integral to the mission, and it promotes behavioral change in the society. It focuses on pushing the people to opt for healthier choices. So under this, a lot of initiatives are being taken. For example, providing for fortified food. Just like iodine is provided through salt, through fortification. Similarly, fortified rice is being promoted. Consumption of millets or SHRI Anna or Siridanya is being promoted. Other essential micronutrients like iron, folic acid, they're all being fortified into the food that we consume to tackle various deficiencies and diseases. Is that clear? So this is the primary focus of Poshan Abhiyan, and the Ministry of Women and Child Development is the lead ministry here. Ministry of Women and Child Development implements it, and it works with other ministries and departments. It's a multi-ministerial initiative. The Food Safety Standards Authority of India is involved. Ministry of Agriculture, right? Then Niti Aayog, they all play a role in the overall implementation of the program. But the nodal ministry is Ministry of Women and Child Development. Niti Aayog plays a key role in advising the National Nutrition Council. There is a National Council on Nutrition to review the program and the implementation. So Niti Aayog acts as an advisory body to the National Nutrition Council. All right, the vice chairperson of Niti Aayog is the chairperson of the National Council on Nutrition. All right, so Niti Aayog plays a role in an advisory capacity, and specific targets have been laid out under the National Nutrition Mission. That's under the Poshan Abhiyan. The focus is to reduce stunting by 2% annually. Stunting is a condition where children do not grow to their normal height because of poor nutrition. Similarly, we have something called wasting, where children do not gain the ideal weight for their age because of the poor nutrition they are consuming. So it focuses on reducing stunting, undernutrition, anemia, and low birth weight. If pregnant women don't receive the right nutrition, the children they are going to give birth to, they will be born with a very low birth weight, below normal weight, which is quite dangerous for the health of the infant, right? Those infants who grow up, they will always suffer from a lot of health conditions, because the initial birth weight plays a critical role in the overall physiology as well of that individual. So this is the focus of the program, and Poshan Abhiyan is crucial to promote nutritional security in the country. All right. So now based on this understanding, we can say statement 1 is correct, statement 2 and 3 are also correct. All three statements are correct. So option D becomes your right answer. Let me know how many of you got it right. Let's see the poll. 68%. Very good. Very good. Next, 8th question. The PM-SHRI scheme helps reflect the key features of which policy? Is it the National Nutritional Policy, National Health Policy, National Education Policy, National Policy for Women? Since it's a straightforward question, first I would like to let you answer the question. PM-SHRI, it was recently in news. So it reflects the features of which important policy of the government? The question is deliberately kept easy. UPSC will ask you such factual direct questions. But that is not the point. Next, we will have a discussion on PM-SHRI scheme. I'll let you know the important facts that you need to focus upon. That is the purpose of the discussion here. Let's see how many of you know the answer. Let's end the poll. Let's see how many of you get the right answer here. C, D, but majority of them have got it right. 66% are saying it's the National Education Policy. You're absolutely correct. It is a simple question. That is why it's quite easy to get the answer as well. Now, let me explain why this topic is important. What are the key points you need to note down with regard to PM-SHRI scheme? The PM-SHRI scheme was in the news because it is a new centrally sponsored scheme that has been launched by the Government of India. All right? The Government of India has put its weight behind this new initiative. It's related to the field of education. It's linked with the National Education Policy of 2020. See, under NEP, the government is promoting new forms of learning. The government is focusing on learning outcomes rather than just on exams and results, right? So under the National Education Policy, there is a holistic transformation happening in our education system, especially at the lower levels. So under this policy, PM-SHRI has been launched, which stands for PM Schools for a Rising India. SHRI is an acronym. It expands to stand for Schools for a Rising India. Around 14,000 plus schools in India will be developed as model schools to reflect the key features of National Education Policy, especially the elite schools that already exist, like KVs, for example, Kendriya Vidyalayas, then the Jawahar Navodaya Vidyalayas, right? These are government-run schools. KVs are mainly by the central government, meant mainly for central government employees, for their children, right? Then you have Navodaya institutions as well. So these would be the focus. They will be upgraded to these facilities, the PM-SHRI facilities. Under this program, the focus is on improving the school infrastructure, providing the best possible infrastructure for these 14,000 plus schools, and revising the curriculum and the pedagogy. The curriculum, the pedagogy will be upgraded to global standards. They will become the flag bearers of the National Education Policy. It will reflect the focus of the government in promoting learning outcomes, in promoting conceptual understanding than rote learning. As simple as that, right? So it provides for a four-structured or four-layered schooling system where the curriculum structure and the teaching style will vary from category to category. The teachers will also be trained appropriately. The children will be prepared for this new age curriculum. All right. So 4 stages have been identified: foundational, preparatory, middle, and secondary. Foundational is your preschool and grade 1 and 2. Then preparatory is your grade 3 to 5. Then comes middle level, the middle school from 6 to 8, and secondary stage from grade 9 to 12. Got it? So this is how the different categories of classes would be categorized within the schools, within the schooling system, and the teachers would be given specialized training here to improve their pedagogy, to improve their effectiveness in teaching to these students. Along with that, along with improving teaching and pedagogy and revising the curriculum structure, The scheme will focus on improving the infrastructure in these schools. Is that clear? State-of-the-art infrastructure will be provided. Better toilets, better sport facilities, sport equipment, focus on art and other co-curricular activities, better labs, then other facilities including the provision of computers, internet, smart boards and smart monitors to make the classrooms more smart, better libraries, water conservation and recycling efforts, energy efficient infrastructure. All these features will be incorporated into these model schools that will be built under PM SHRI. So these are not brand new schools entirely. Some of them might be new schools which will be built, but most of them will be the existing schools which will be upgraded to these standards. Got it? So it's not just infrastructure which will be improved, even the pedagogy, the teaching style and the curriculum structure will be revised. So this is the ambitious initiative, the PM SHRI initiative, that reflects the features of the national education policy. So that is why the correct answer was option C, national education policy. So UPSC might ask simple, straightforward questions. There will be some of them, but there will be other questions which are a little more complex. So you should gear up for both. You can't always be complacent that questions will be straightforward like the previous one. At the same time, you can't panic that questions will be extremely tough. It will always be a mix of everything. There will be a lot of easy questions, a lot of moderate level questions, and some very tough questions. This is where you strategize. This is where you prepare better so that you can crack most of the questions. Next, question number 9. The National Industrial Corridor Development Program aims to develop new industrial cities as smart cities and converging next generation technology across infrastructure sectors. The question deals with the National Industrial Corridor Development Program, which was recently in the news. Second statement says DMIC, the Delhi Mumbai Industrial Corridor, Western and Eastern DFC, the dedicated freight corridors, CBIC, Chennai Bengaluru Industrial Corridor, etc. They are part of this project, this Industrial Corridor Development Program. So we should check whether these given statements are correct or wrong. So first, let me give you the context here. Let me tell you in what context was this topic in news. Recently, Prime Minister Modi paid a visit to Karnataka and he laid the foundation for an industrial corridor on the outskirts of Bengaluru at Tumkuru. Alright, this is going to be part of the Chennai Bengaluru Industrial Corridor. That will see the improvement of connectivity infrastructure from Chennai to Bengaluru and across 3 states in the region, Karnataka, Tamil Nadu and Andhra Pradesh. Industrial clusters and corridors will be created to establish the CBIC as one of the most important southern industrial corridors. Now this is a very big development because the foundation stone which was laid, this happens to be the first industrial corridor project in South India. Already in the north, the other industrial corridor projects have started. The DMIC project, the Delhi Mumbai Industrial Corridor, then Amritsar Kolkata Industrial Corridor, then the dedicated freight corridor project, the Western and Eastern dedicated freight corridors. All these projects have started off in the northern parts of India. In the southern part of India, the first project to kick off is the CBIC project, and the first corridor would be in Tumkuru in Karnataka. So this project was recently launched with the Prime Minister. That is where the topic becomes very important. So these corridors we are creating across the country, they are part of the National Infrastructure Pipeline. Under the ambitious National Infrastructure Pipeline, the government is executing this project called National Industrial Corridor Development Program. It's being executed by the National Industrial Corridor Development Corporation Limited, and 11 industrial corridors are coming up in the country. Please take a look at the map and the list that I have given over here. Look at the map as well. It will help you understand the alignment of these corridors, and all the 11 industrial corridors are listed over here. It includes the DMIC corridor, Amritsar Kolkata Industrial Corridor, Chennai Bengaluru Industrial Corridor, Vizag Chennai Corridor, Bengaluru Mumbai, will be another major corridor. Odisha corridor along the east coast of India. Hyderabad, Nagpur and Hyderabad, Warangal corridors in Andhra Pradesh, Telangana belt. Hyderabad, Bengaluru corridor and further extension of the Chennai-Bengaluru corridor to Kerala, that is Kochi via Coimbatore, and the Delhi-Nagpur corridor. So in total, these are the 11 industrial corridors that will run along the Golden Quadrilateral, which is the quadrilateral highway system that runs in a north, south, east, west direction in the country. So these corridors will have modern highways and railway connectivity along with industrial clusters and the required facilities, electricity, water supplies, smart cities along the route. New cities could be built, smart industrial cities could be built, employing smart technology, modern technology, right? So this is the focus of the program. It's one of the most ambitious infrastructure projects of India under the National Infrastructure Pipeline. All right. Now, if you look at the CBIC corridor, the Chennai-Bengaluru corridor, there are 3 specific clusters which are being promoted. Please make a note of this. The Tumkur cluster in Karnataka on the outskirts of Bengaluru, the Poneri industrial area in Tamil Nadu near Chennai, and the Krishnapatnam industrial corridor in Andhra Pradesh. So all 3 states are being covered with 3 major clusters that will be connected with a series of road, rail projects and other connectivity facilities. These would come up as smart cities adopting modern technologies, and they could be easily expanded into massive industrial clusters. The plan is to further extend this into Kerala as well through Coimbatore all the way till Kochi, which is another major industrial center, right? So that is why you should know about the National Industrial Corridor Development Program. All right. So both the given statements are correct. Both the statements are correct. So option C is the right answer. Both 1 and 2 become the right answer. 74% have got it right. Very good. Next, question number 10. Recently launched PM VIKAS scheme will benefit whom? Who are the beneficiaries of PM VIKAS? Straightforward question from current affairs. First answer the question and then I'll explain what this program is all about. We will discuss PM VIKAS in detail, but first try and answer the question. Let's end the poll. Let's see how many of you have got it right. Is it ex-servicemen and retired police personnel, or artisans and craftspeople, street vendors and hawkers, or tea plantation workers? 67% have said option B. This is indeed the correct answer. PM VIKAS was recently launched during the Union Budget. When this year's budget was presented, PM VIKAS was announced by Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman. VIKAS stands for, it's actually an acronym here. It expands to stand for Pradhan Mantri Vishwakarma Kaushal Samman Scheme. That is the full expansion of PM VIKAS. The term Vishwakarma is often used to refer to artisans, those who are involved in craft work, handicrafts for example. These are traditional industries, local village level industries of India that have existed since centuries. The whole idea is to respect and protect and promote the artisans and the crafts people and their craft and their industry. That is the primary focus of PM VIKAS. It will provide for financial support, technical support, and as well as digital training and capacity building to the artisans in the country, so they could be mainstreamed into the MSME value chain. These informal industries which are operating in different pockets of the country, they could be mainstreamed into the MSME industry, into the micro, small, medium enterprises. All they need is some financial support for capital to run their industries, to expand their facilities, right? They'll need more loans, concessional loans. They need better training and capacity building as well to fine-tune their skills so they can come up with better quality products. They also need market access to sell their produce and goods. There needs to be better branding, marketing of their products, whatever they are producing, right? These are people who are highly skilled. They have skills in niche areas, maybe in painting, in carving, right? Or in creating jewelry, for example. There are a lot of karigari work that happens in the country, which is carried out by our artisans and craftspeople. So collectively, they are called Vishwakarmas because of the skills they have, the effort they put in. But unfortunately, they don't have a secure livelihood. So to protect them and to enable this industry, PM VIKAS has been launched. It will provide all the required support, financial support through banks and lending institutions, so that they have the right capital available, the concessional loans available to them. There will be training, capacity building as well to improve their skills, to fine-tune the skills and pass it on to the next generations. Usually these artisanal skills are within families, within villages. If you don't protect them, it will die out after a few generations. It's important to train them and pass on the skill to future generations. So that is the focus of the scheme as well. And they need better branding, better visibility in the market, better online promotion, promotion through advertisements. Maybe you can promote them at a global level in international markets. There will be a lot of value for such artisanal work, for the handicrafts that they produce. So you can create a niche market, right? That is where the government is looking to help the community through PM VIKAS. All right? So it will provide financial support, skill training, access to modern technologies, promotion of the brand and marketing, linkages with local and as well as global markets, enabling digital payments so people in faraway regions can also buy their products, and social security in the form of insurance and pension. Because these artisans, they have no social security whatsoever. If for some reason, if they can't practice their art, they will be left without a livelihood. They'll know nothing else. So to secure their livelihood, they need social security. They need insurance and pension as well. So all these facilities are being extended under the PM VIKAS scheme. It will give special priority for women artisans and as well as those from the weaker sections, from SC, ST community, OBC community. They will be given special priority under PM VIKAS. So obviously the correct answer here is option B. See, such schemes which have been launched in this year's budget, they are going to be extremely important for the examination. That is one clue for you. Pay more attention to the schemes and projects that were announced or upgraded in this year's budget. All right, even in the sessions, I've picked the same topics. Tomorrow we'll get to see even more topics, and you will see that all of them were in some way or the other referenced in the budget, in the economic survey. UPSC prioritizes such topics, and you can get direct questions here. Very simple questions as well. Next question, question number 11. This is also from the union budget. It deals with the MISHTI initiative that was announced in the union budget. The MISHTI initiative for conserving mangrove plantations was launched in this year's budget. It comes after India was pushed by the UN to protect its mangrove cover. The program will operate through convergence between Manrega, Campa Fund and other sources. Which of the statements are incorrect? All right, I already told you about the first statement. The first statement is obviously correct. It was launched in this year's budget, in the 2023 union budget. And the main focus of the MISHTI initiative is to conserve the mangrove ecosystem of the country. So statement 1 is definitely correct. Let me explain more about this important initiative. It's an environment-oriented initiative, and it also serves a socio-economic purpose. MISHTI stands for Mangrove Initiative for Shoreline Habitats and Tangible Incomes. See, mangrove forests, they are mainly found along the coastline of the country. They are found in wetland ecosystems. Now, for example, we have Sundarbans in West Bengal. It's a wetland ecosystem. It's home of the large mangrove cover. Even you have the Odisha coastline across the Chilka Lake belt. Then you have Andhra Pradesh and coastal Tamil Nadu, right, which is another major region for the mangroves. Even on the west coast, in Karnataka, parts of Kerala, parts of Goa and Maharashtra and Gujarat, mangrove cover is found. Andaman Nicobar Islands is blessed with a very good mangrove cover. These mangrove forests, they play a critical role in the local economy. Mangroves, which are found in wetland ecosystems, they are highly adapted. They have displayed a lot of adaptations because they face very harsh conditions in these wetland ecosystems. They deal with highly saline water, very low oxygen conditions, loose soil which does not support the heavy mangrove trees. In such adverse conditions, mangroves are thriving because they have undergone unique adaptations. Is that clear? So mangroves are crucial to the biodiversity of the region. They are home to a very unique biodiversity. Wetlands themselves are very crucial from a biodiversity point of view. That is why wetlands are recognized internationally under the Ramsar Convention. Mangroves, they give us a lot of benefits. First of all, they act as a natural buffer. They act as a natural buffer or as a natural defense along the coastline. Because along the coastline you have many threats. Cyclones, for example, right? Cyclones bring very high speed winds. They could bring coastal flooding. Then tsunamis. These are major disasters witnessed along the coastal areas and east coast of India especially. Right? Even Andaman Nicobar Islands, they are highly prone to tropical cyclones that bring devastating high-speed winds and torrential rain. Mangroves act as a natural defense, as a first line of buffer and defense by cutting the wind speed and by dispersing the energy of the tidal energy of the waves. So they protect the coastal areas from flooding. They protect the coastal areas from high-speed winds. So they actually play a big role in disaster management. All right. Other than that, they are host to a variety of biodiversity, including fisheries, etc., which is crucial for the coastal economy. They also have medicinal value, recreational value for tourists, right? So this brings in a lot of revenue for the local communities, the coastal communities and the fishing communities. So because of this critical role of mangroves, it's important to conserve and protect them. The most important point is that mangroves are a great carbon sink. They are many times more efficient than your regular forests in absorbing carbon dioxide and sinking it into the ground or into the food chain. This carbon will be locked away for a long time period. It helps in carbon sequestration. So it can play a big role in tackling climate change. So due to all these benefits, mangroves have to be protected and conserved. Today we are losing our mangrove cover due to rapid urbanization, population increase and destruction of these resources, right? Overexploitation is also a concern. Mangroves are under threat. The mangrove cover had declined actually. So India has launched this new program, MISHTI, or Mangrove Initiative for Shoreline Habitats and Tangible Incomes, to protect the mangrove plantation because of this reason. It not only protects the ecosystem from a biodiversity and environment point of view, it also helps in linking coastal livelihood with the mangrove forests. The coastal communities will play a big role here. They will be roped in the conservation effort, and the benefits arising out of this will be channeled towards coastal development. It will help them generate a tangible income for the local economy. All right. Now, India was not pushed to launch this initiative. We have launched this because we have joined the Mangrove Alliance for Climate, which is a new global initiative that was launched during this year's Climate Change Summit at Sharm el-Sheikh in Egypt. In December 2022, at Sharm el-Sheikh in Egypt, the 27th COP or Conference of Parties was held. During the Climate Change Convention, Mangrove Alliance for Climate was launched. It's a new global initiative for protecting the mangrove cover. So in line with this commitment, India on its own is launching the MISHTI initiative. We are not being forced by the UN. That's why second statement becomes wrong. It's not by force. We are We are more than happy to launch the initiative. It's in line with our global commitment for Mangrove Alliance for Climate. These are some of the most biodiverse locations in the country, providing a natural buffer, acting as an excellent carbon sink, and providing precious resources to the economy. So that is why mangrove conservation has become a focus, and this initiative has been launched to protect the country's mangrove cover all along the coastline, along the east coast, west coast, and as well as the island territories of India. All right. So based on this, we can say that statement 1 and 2 both are correct. Sorry, statement 2 becomes incorrect here because it's saying India was pushed to adopt this. So statement 2 becomes incorrect here. But statement 3 is absolutely correct. The third statement here is definitely correct because the fund for the MISHTI initiative comes from existing programs like Manrega, the Compensatory Afforestation Fund or CAMPA Fund, and few other environment related initiatives. From the existing pool of resources, along with some new allocation, the government is looking to fund the MISHTI initiative. All right, the local community which will be involved in the work, in the conservation work, they will be paid wages through Manrega scheme. Those who might lose their land because of this afforestation effort, they will be compensated through the CAMPA fund. It provides for compensatory afforestation. It compensates for afforestation which is carried out. And through similar programs, funding will be arranged by the government along with some additional funding. So statement 3 is correct, but statement 2 is wrong. Question is asking you to identify the incorrect statement. So 2 only becomes the answer. That's option B. 59% have said option B. You're right, this is the correct answer. Statement 2 is the only incorrect statement. Next, question number 12. Which recently launched government scheme incentivizes states and union territories to promote alternative fertilizers and balanced use of chemical fertilizers? This is another direct question from the union budget. Again, don't think it's a simple question that you can ignore and neglect this. Don't ever show that complacency. UPSC will ask you simple questions sometimes. All right, there will be such straightforward questions. But without knowing this fact, without being thorough with current affairs, you can't answer these straightforward questions as well, right? So there are 4 options given. Is it Amrit Darohar, PM Pranam, Atmanirbhar Horticulture Clean Plant Program, or none of the above? Let's see how many of you get it right. Let's end the poll. Let's see how many of you get the right answer. Is it A, B, C, D? Majority have said B. Very good. It is PM Pranam. PM Pranam is a new scheme of the Government of India that was announced in this year's Union Budget by the Finance Minister. PM Pranam stands for Program for Restoration, Awareness, Nourishment and Amelioration of Mother Earth. It focuses on the soil. It focuses on Mother Earth because we are polluting our soil, causing imbalance in the soil ecosystem by using harmful fertilizers, chemical fertilizers. PM Pranam achieves multiple objectives. It incentivizes the state governments and the union territories to promote alternative fertilizers, especially organic and natural fertilizers. All right. Now, what's the advantage by promoting such fertilizers? The first advantage is that, and the biggest advantage is that, the fertilizer subsidy bill, which is massive right now, can be brought down, and thus it will reduce the burden, the financial burden on the Government of India. Right now, the Government of India is spending a lot in subsidizing chemical fertilizers for the farmers, because agriculture has been extensively focused on using such inputs. Look at the data here. Almost 2.25 lakh crore rupees is the subsidy burden on the government from fertilizers. Is that clear? It's seen a 39% jump from 1.62 lakh crore rupees in the previous estimate, it has jumped to 2.25 lakh crore rupees. That is the bill from fertilizer subsidies. This is a huge financial burden on the government of India. Now, what if we encourage farmers to shift to alternate fertilizers, more environment-friendly fertilizers, which have lesser chemical content, less harmful to the soil, and it helps in bringing down the subsidy cost. So that is the whole purpose here. It will be environment-friendly, but of course, it can't compromise productivity. So it has to be balanced. We can't overnight switch to organic fertilizers. We can't do that mistake. We are not as foolish as Sri Lanka. Sri Lanka had done that mistake under Gotabaya Rajapaksa. It was a costly mistake. It crashed Sri Lanka's agriculture. Chemical fertilizers are needed. It's a necessity. We can't ignore that. So we need to strike that fine balance between using chemical fertilizers and using alternates wherever it's available, wherever it's possible. So that is the purpose of PM PRANAM. It will incentivize the states and union territories to encourage alternate fertilizers and provide for the balanced use of chemical fertilizers. It's not banning the use of chemical fertilizers. It's not only encouraging alternate fertilizers. We know the consequences of that. So the focus is on striking that fine balance so that we nourish the soil, we protect Mother Earth, provide for its rejuvenation and nourishment while maintaining our productivity levels and causing minimal damage to the soil and the environment. And at a broad level, this will bring down the subsidy cost and thus reduce the financial burden on the government as well. So that is why it's a very, very important scheme in the agriculture sector. So option B is the right answer. Coming to question number 13, another important government scheme, Amrit Darohar. What does it deal with? What does Amrit Darohar scheme deal with? Promoting afforestation measures in tribal areas, involving forest-dwelling communities in conserving the local forests, encouraging optimal use of wetland ecosystems, incentivizes social forestry measures in landslide-prone areas. Which of the given option is the correct answer? It's again a new scheme launched in this year's budget. That's why the topic is important. Let's see how many of you get it right. Let's end the poll and let's see how many of you have got the answer. Most of them are giving option C as the right answer. Very good. Option C is indeed the correct answer. Amrit Darohar, it encourages the optimal usage of wetland ecosystems. Just now I had explained the importance of wetland ecosystems along with mangrove cover. Mangrove systems and wetland ecosystems, they go hand in hand, right? The coastal wetlands that we have, they all are blessed with mangrove cover. So wetland ecosystems, they play a critical role, not just along the coastline, but even inland. Be it natural wetlands or artificial man-made wetlands, they all play a very important role in the environment and as well as far as human development is concerned. As I told you, they are blessed with tremendous resources. They provide us with recreational opportunities for tourism, which can be a big source of revenue. They are a big source of fish, enables the fisheries industry. They act as carbon sinks. They can support livelihoods in the region. So wetlands, they offer numerous economic benefits, social benefits and environmental benefits. They contribute to the ecology. They contribute to the economy, to the local people and to the society itself. So that is why it's important to protect and conserve our wetlands. In line with the objectives of Ramsar Convention. Under the Ramsar Convention, wetlands of international importance are recognized. They get special priority, special funds when it comes to conservation efforts. But how about the other wetlands in India? Ramsar sites, they get more attention, more funds. But what about the other wetlands? We have hundreds of wetlands in the country. India has one of the highest concentration of wetland ecosystems. These wetland ecosystems are crucial for local communities. The local communities heavily depend on them for water, for fish, that is for their food, and it has recreation potential, tourist potential. It sustains livelihood. It has medical resources which can be extracted for medicinal purposes, right? For cosmetic industry. There are a lot of benefits that arise out of wetland ecosystems. So to protect this aspect of wetlands, the role they play in the economy, in the biodiversity, and in the livelihoods of people, to encourage that, this dedicated scheme has been launched, which is the Amrit Darohar scheme. It encourages the optimal use of wetlands, which means sustainable use. We shouldn't over-exploit the wetland ecosystems. So it's essentially a conservation-oriented program promoting sustainable exploitation of our wetlands. So that is Amrit Darohar. Next, question number 14. Consider the following statements. Mission Shakti is an integrated women empowerment program for the safety, security and empowerment of women. Recently, Ministry of Home Affairs has issued detailed guidelines for Mission Shakti scheme. The scheme consists of two components, Sambal and Samarthya. We need to check whether the given statements are correct. This particular scheme, it's related to the topic of women safety and women empowerment. Mission Shakti, it was launched a few years ago, but the guidelines were recently notified and it's going into implementation mode. It's a very ambitious initiative being led by Ministry of Women and Child Development, not by the Home Ministry. Even though it deals with women's security and safety, it's an initiative of the Ministry of Women and Child Development. The priority here is to ensure the safety, security of women and promote women empowerment across the country. This scheme acts as an umbrella scheme. It brings together several existing schemes and new schemes together under one single framework. See, when it comes to women's safety and women empowerment, we have plenty of schemes in the country. It covers the entire life cycle of a woman, from birth till death. Alright, women face several unique challenges from the society because of their physiology, and to take care of women's safety and empowerment throughout the life cycle of a woman, there are several schemes and programs in India. We have dedicated schemes for women nutrition, special schemes for pregnant lactating women, special schemes for infants to help the mother as well, right? Special schemes for working women, special safety measures for women who venture out, right? For agriculture, for any other activity as well. There are special schemes focused on women's education and loans for women. Now all these schemes are collectively being brought together under this umbrella scheme called Mission Shakti. Alright, there are two components under this, Sambal and Samarthya. The Sambal component focuses on safety and security issues faced by women. So schemes and initiatives like Women Helpline, Beti Bachao, Beti Padhao, then one-stop center where women can seek assistance from local counselors and the police for security issues they are dealing with. All these existing initiatives and facilities, they will merge under the Sambal component of Mission Shakti. Alright, rape victims who need assistance, women who face molestation, harassment, right? They could all seek support here. So existing initiatives like Women Helpline, Beti Bachao, Beti Padhao, all these initiatives will be brought under the Sambal component of Mission Shakti. It covers security aspects and as well as education aspects as well. Samarthya aims at women empowerment. It aims at strengthening women empowerment and it focuses on existing schemes and brings them together. The Ujjwala scheme that we discussed earlier, the provision of LPG connection, Swadhar Graha, working women hostel, national creche facilities for lactating women. So all these existing facilities and even schemes like Pradhan Mantri Matru Vandana Yojana that provide special support for pregnant lactating women. All these schemes will be brought under this umbrella framework under the Samarthya component. All right. So it's a umbrella program of Ministry of Women and Child Development that is bringing all existing schemes together under these two components, Sambal and Samarthya. So recently the guidelines were notified for this. It's being made operational. So that is why the topic is very important. So statement 1 is definitely correct. Statement 2 is wrong. It's not by the Home Ministry. It's by Ministry of Women and Child Development. Third statement is correct. It has two components, Sambal and Samarthya. So 1 and 3 only. Option C becomes the correct answer. 59% have got the right answer. Very good. Coming to the last question for today. Consider the following with regard to Jal Jeevan Mission. Even though it's a slightly old program, it has been constantly in the news. And I strongly feel the topic is very, very important for prelims. Is that clear? There have been a lot of developments as a result of which Jal Jeevan Mission has been constantly in the news. So let's look at the statements. It envisages a supply of 55 liters of water per person per day to every rural household through functional household tap connections by 2024. It has separate components for rural and urban areas. It looks to create a Jan Andolan, a people movement, a people's movement for water. Which of the statements are correct? The Jal Jeevan Mission is another flagship program launched by the Modi government. It's a reformed and a upgraded version of the previous project, the National Rural Drinking Water Program, that was launched by the then Manmohan Singh government. So this old program has been restructured and it's been upgraded into a brand new initiative. And the primary focus here is to ensure that every household, especially in rural areas, they have tap water connection available. Every household will be provided with drinking water facility. At least 55 liters of piped water, potable water, which is suited for drinking, will be made available for every household under this ambitious mission. The motto is Har Ghar Nal Se Jal. That is, in every household tap there should be water. It's not just about providing the tap connection, but ensuring that there is water supply in the tap connection. The Prime Minister himself has personally backed the initiative. That's one reason why the program becomes important. It focuses on water conservation efforts, rainwater harvesting, expanding the distribution and supply of water, using recycled water as well for non-consumptive purposes, for non-drinking, non-cooking purposes. Development of water course, promoting afforestation, which helps in water conservation, and rejuvenating water bodies, especially in rural areas. These are the focus points of the Jal Jeevan Mission. There are two separate components for rural and urban areas. There is a separate rural component and an urban component. Because when it comes to the supply of drinking water, right, the challenges in rural areas are very different. Challenges in urban areas are very different. So to deal with that, there are two components here for the rural urban areas under Jal Jeevan Mission, and it does prioritize people's participation. Again, this program cannot be a success without a people-led movement. Government alone cannot achieve this objective. You need the community, the people at the grassroots, the panchayats, the municipal bodies, the Anganwadi workers, self-help groups. All these ground level institutions have to play a role in water conservation. If people keep wasting water, if they don't focus on water conservation, water management, rainwater harvesting, where will the government get the water needed for every household? So this has to be a Jan Andolan. It has to be a people-led movement. So this is a priority under Jal Jeevan Mission. It's been built into the structure of the mission itself. Is that clear? It's implemented by the Jal Shakti ministry, and it focuses on building awareness amongst the people. The local bodies play a key role. The Gram Sabhas, the lowest unit of decentralization, they also play a key role through the Pani Samitis or water councils. At the village level, at the Gram Sabha level, water supply plans will be set out. These plans will have to be approved by the Gram Sabha, and the local participants, the local elected officials to the panchayat, the local government officials, even NGOs, Anganwadi workers, they all play a role in meeting this demand for water supply. Alright, government will provide the infrastructure, the facilities, the piped connections will be given, but ensuring water supply is the biggest challenge. So this is where the program makes a big difference. The structure has been designed in such a way that it provides for a Jan Andolan. So which are the statements which are correct? Statement 1, 2 and 3. All three given statements are correct. So option C becomes the right answer. Here, the question is not asking which statements are right, it's asking how many of the given statements are correct. So that is a new format of question that UPSC has been asking of late. So option C is the right answer and 45% have got the right answer. Again, what's concerning is 40% have got the wrong answer. But again, like I said, don't panic, don't worry. The session is meant to help you revise. I told you at the very beginning, this session is going to be more challenging than the rest because it is more factual than conceptual. There are so many government schemes. So what I've done, I've filtered out the best possible topics. We have covered so many important government schemes today. I really hope you found the session to be helpful. We'll meet again tomorrow for session number 2, and we hope to cover many more government schemes that were in the news. So if you like the session, do let me know in the comments. I'll take a look at them. Do press the like button, share it with other aspirants as well, and do subscribe to our channel. So that is it from my side. Thanks for watching. Have a good night.